Sorry
Good morning
about that.
again. My name is Tammy Aviles. I'm a resident of the county. I am representing the Coalition for a New Community Library and Resource Center. We are residents from both the city and county working on a new library, and we are continuing our progress. Just wanted to, be here and to extend an invitation to our next meeting, which is Saturday, October the 20th at 10 a.m. at the county library. Thank you.
Can you repeat that date again,
Yes,
please?
Saturday, October 20th at 10 a.m. at the library.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have no other speakers.
Would anyone else like to address the board before I close the public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to department head announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we do have an announcement out of our RMA office. I'd like to invite John Gerton up, our RMA director.
Good morning, supervisors. We have Kathleen Gallagher here from our integrated waste group, and she's here to tell you about an event that we have going on tomorrow.
Good morning. Good to see you all. Wanted to let you know that tomorrow, October 10th, we're going to have a Chamber of Commerce Lunch and Learn for the Green Business Program. Thanks to your support of our Green Business Program, we're inviting all businesses to attend this Lunch and Learn. Lunch and Learn sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, and the point of it is to help our businesses reduce their operating costs, learn about rebates for energy efficiency, water reduction, reduce their waste. So wanted to let you know about that event, and it is tomorrow. The Chamber of Commerce has done the invitation. It is at 11:30 at the Running Rooster. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
We have another one out of our budget office. I'd like to invite Melinda Casillas, our budget officer, up.
Good morning. So as you know, at the end of the year, I will be leaving the budget office position, and I'd like to welcome Stuart. We've recently hired him to be our new budget officer, Stuart Patry. He graduated from San Benito High School, went on to get his accounting degree at Cal State University, Long Beach, and he's currently pursuing his master's degree at San Jose State in public administration. He's been working in the auditor's office for about a year and a half, and so he brings a lot of experience with the ERP system and also our budget software system, Workiva. And so we think he'll be a great asset to our department, and we'd like to welcome him as our new budget officer.
Great. Well, great.
I just wanted to say thank you to Ray and Melinda for the opportunity. Thank you to Joe Paul for training me over the last year and a half. And I just wanted to say I'm excited to work with the community and the board and the departments on all the different budget issues. And I hope to kind of build off of the improvements that Melinda has made over the past 5 years or so. With the budget process. So.
Right. We want to congratulate you on your new job and look forward to your success at it. And we know you'll do just fine.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's all the announcements we have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chair?
Supervisor De La Cruz?
Yes, Ray, your department had Alan at our last meeting, supervisor, myself, and I expressed an interest that Alan bring back an item to assist Sun Street organization with a $50,000 allocation. It's not on the agenda. Can you put a lit a fire underneath him to make sure that this item will be on the next agenda meeting?
Okay.
Since we're on that, Supervisor Rivas has also asked. Since we're right now, Supervisor Rivas has asked to put the Fallon Fairview Road on the agenda for this week also. Oh, okay. So that's going to be on next meeting for sure. Yes. Okay, perfect.
Okay, all right. We got that cleared up. Now we'll move on to board announcements. Supervisor Medina.
Yeah, I have a couple. I just want to talk about some issues that I'm seeing in the planning department. I know we've had some calls about certain issues going on, and I expect Ray and John Gurton to take care of this immediately so it doesn't get out of hand. Also, looking at some phone calls I received from the Hollister School District. I know there's a lot of issues going on with monies they say the county owes. I wanted to see if we can put together some type of a group, whether it's, what I'm thinking right now is Joe Paul and the treasurer, along with someone from the board of here and the board of the Hollister School District, so we can talk about this and figure out what is happening, because I think a lot of people are in the gray on this.
Okay. Thank you. Supervisor De La Cruz.
No comment, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Munzer.
The only comment I have is the Monterey Bay Air Resource District has a program for wood stove change out. They have a rebate that they are offering. We've been doing this for a few years, but we've been concentrating on the San Lorenzo Valley because of their poor air quality. This year, we've expanded it to all 3 counties are able to take advantage of this, and you can either give me a call or go on the Monterey Bay Air Resource website to see about the particulars. But there's definitely opportunity if you have an older wood burner stove to change it out to a more efficient one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Rivas.
I have no announcements, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any announcements, so we'll move on to consent agenda. Do any supervisors want to pull off any of the items?
17.
Which one?
17.
17, okay, thank you. Any other ones? Seeing none, anybody from the public would like to pull any of the items on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for 1 through 16.
So moved.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. 17, Supervisor Medina.
Yes, can I invite Captain Taylor to the mic? I pulled this item simply because when I read it, it was just talking about social media. It was kind of vague. So I wanted to have Captain Taylor talk about this in depth so we all understand what we're voting on.
Thank you for having me here this morning. So I don't normally do this, but I know it was important, so I kind of scripted out some things I just want to make sure we cover, just so everyone's on the same page and understands exactly what it is that we're asking for. So I just want to point out that few people communicate well, and law enforcement officers in general do not communicate well without some training. We're in a time right now where it's kind of interesting that the public is demanding a lot more transparency, especially with law enforcement, but at the same time they're demanding a lot more privacy. So it's kind of a strange thing for us to try to be dealing with. So we're trying to find a way to better dialogue with people we serve. We're asking to be able to contract with CoPro Media, who can give us guidance and direction to keep us safe and effectively communicate with our community. So this goes beyond just our social media platform, which we've recently launched. This has to do with all of our communication, press releases, everything that we have that goes out to the public. It'll help us craft and release messages pertaining to updates on emergency situations such as natural disasters, breaking news about matters of public safety, stories about local heroes and other aspects of public interest. It'll help us give warm wishes to our community members on holidays and include important traffic and safety reminders, and also be on the lookouts, Amber Alerts, things of that nature that can assist us in investigations of our cases. Having a professional coach to coach us through this process gives us a much greater chance of success when using our own, instead of using our own untrained in-house staff. So really what we're kind of looking for here is some coaching and some help to get us to the next level of being able to communicate with our community. I want to point out that the firm that we're asking to go with, CoPro Media, assists with the sheriff's offices in Santa Cruz County, Monterey County, San Mateo County, Marin County, Sonoma County, Tuolumne County, Stanislaus County, San Joaquin County, El Dorado County, Amador County, Nevada County, Placer County, and Solano County. So they bring a lot of experience with a lot of the same issues that we'd be dealing with to the table. Online communication for our office involves more than just social marketing, and the messages need to be written thoughtfully and thoroughly with transparency, and they need to be done legally, morally, and ethically. As our office strives to maintain our transparency, Corporal Media will help us properly uphold the privacy protections legally afforded to our community members. Their services include content management, content creation. The most important for us is staff training and also crisis communication. They can help us navigate the challenges of making sure we're doing things that are with all the nuances of all the legalities of people's privacy. They'll be able to keep us on the right track with that. And I'll just close by saying that we expect that Corporal Media will provide training to all of our staff to help us become self-sufficient. We're asking for a trial contract of 12 months. We'll then reevaluate the necessity to keep them on longer. The goal is to get our office to become experts ourselves. Also, all messaging to the community will come from a Sheriff's Office staff member, both in print and on camera. So we're not going to have somebody stand in and do it for us. We'll be doing it ourselves. We'll be learning along the way. If there's any other questions, I can answer.
Thank you, Captain. Very thorough explanation. Any questions from the board? Supervisor De La Cruz?
Yeah, thank you, Captain. I do appreciate that extended explanation on the proposal. I do have some questions, some concerns about it. And the first question you mentioned about like press releases, and I know for a fact, you know, Supervisor Patel himself being here as county supervisors for about 13, 14 years, we have had either members of the emergency service issue those press releases, or somebody within your sheriff department issue a press release in time of crisis. So there is a method and there is a way that's how it's happening right now. You're talking about also how we, you know, the confidentiality information. That's something that once you take a job, especially in your very important job, that's something that it's committed. We're going to do that, you as the sheriff department. And so I don't question it. Just kind of, you know, just hairs on my back start bringing up when you talk about, you know, how to retool or train to make sure the confidential information is out there that is disseminated to the public the right way. So I still need more information about that.
So if you think historically, and just for our office, for the sheriff's office, historically what we've done is we've put out a media release to a very finite list of media contacts that we have. They can choose to pick up the story or not pick it up. There have been some sensitive stories that we put out since I've been here that didn't get any coverage at all. So without that outlet, nobody knows what's actually going on because maybe something more exciting happened in the Tri-County area that day. So we're on the cutting room floor. We didn't get the message out to our community. I go back to when I first came to this community, and in times of like, as we're in right now for like an election cycle, it was always strange to me to see how many signs there are in this county. There's signs all over the place. And what I was told from not being from here is that the reason that there's so many signs, is what I was told, I don't know if this is to be true, is that historically, San Benito County and the city of Hollister haven't really got the media coverage and the attention paid to us that other places have, maybe like Salinas, Santa Cruz, or Watsonville. So what we wanted to do is find a way to connect with our community to get our message out so people know what's going on without relying on just the news media and a press release to do that. We got into Nixle, which is, again, you have to opt in to Nixle. And honestly, what our partner agency here, the City of Hollister Police Department and Chief Westrick, have done a phenomenal job connecting with the community through platforms like Facebook. We haven't even looked into Instagram. We haven't looked into anything further than Facebook right now. But other agencies that surround us, they have a full-time, benefited, paid-for, permanent staff member that only does this.
You see, and that was going to be my other question to you, is that you're asking us to approve a contract that already started in July 1st of this year. And we're in October, which is already 3 months into it, unless you haven't brought them on board. you're asking them for a contract with the intention that it'll probably be a full-time in a couple of years moving forward. If the program is so successful, you will have a full-time staff member. Because I support the law enforcement. I'd rather see boots on the field than hire non-boots individuals. We want to make sure our community is protected, and the way you do that is there's more officers out in the streets, and that's why I question this, because I can see where it's going. It's a contract. It's a short-term situation. Let's see how it works. If you become so successful at the next budget hearing, you're going to ask us that we hire an IT or social media on payroll full-time with benefits. And the city hall is already doing that. And I think maybe we should join up with the city hall so we don't create a full-time position and still take advantage of the social media tools that are out there for the community.
So for us, as the Sheriff's Office, we want to be able to craft our own message from our own agency to our own people, not rely on the city to do that for us. There are complex things that happen to where we would want to craft our own message in our own way. This is not just that we want the sheriff to go out and take selfies and post them. I mean, this is crafting messages of things that are actually going on in our community. If it was something of just posting pictures, then we would just have our staff do that right now. And we've kind of done that a little bit. But one thing that CoPro Media offers to us, and they've actually, depending on how things go, they're going to come in and they're actually going to train our staff, the boots on the ground, to be creating content as they're working. So if we do this correctly in this format, we wouldn't need to bring on a full-time person to manage it on their own. The staff themselves will be generating the content because they'll understand what it is that we're wanting to put out, what it is that we want to gather, where they funnel that information to, who puts it together and who posts it and who manages it. We're so small that it's not that we can't do it on our own. It's just that we're trying to learn and do it at the exact same time. What's appropriate, what's inappropriate, what's shocking, what's tasteful. And we need to have all the staff on board at the same time. So CoPro Media is not just going to come in and train one person to do it like other agencies do. They're going to come in and help us manage training all of our staff to do it. And as we can gain trust in the staff that they understand how to put the message out and how to craft it, then we can start letting out more slack and letting them create the content that I honestly think the community is actually going to really appreciate. They're going to appreciate the real-time information that will come from the deputies actually out in the field while they're working, and they're going to see what we do day in and day out, as opposed to, let's wait for a big case to come through and maybe just put that out. You'll see day-to-day activity about everything that we do, positive, negative, controversial. You'll see it all.
Mr. Chair, this $30,000 it's a combination of three budget items, right? And any of that is general fund money?
So it's being pulled from three of our different budgets, which is operations, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, but operations, jail, and grant money. So it's money that's already been budgeted, right, that we're allocating, that we would want to allocate towards this. We're not asking for $30,000 more.
But 2/3 is general fund allocation.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, it is. Again, I just have concerns about it. I see the benefits of it. I just feel that we will create a full-time position and then support staff to it. And sooner or later, in a year or two, we'll have 2 additional personnel at your department for social media. And I just, in today's tough times, it's just hard to create, support staff where I'd rather put those 2 positions out in the field. That's just my opinion. And I know the social media is real hot about today. We want to make sure the law enforcement have cameras at all times so the public know what the officers are doing. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's my compromise, let this go forward. But I do have reservations, and I will support it today with reservations. And so when it's next year, I'm going to be sitting here and telling you the same thing.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Rivas?
Yeah, so all due respect, I have no reservations. I think this is certainly the step in the right direction. This isn't something that's going to spiral out of control. We don't have to go very far to see an example of it working very positively, and that's at San Diego High School, where they have a staff member who is a teacher and who does contract work for the high school to specifically manage their social media accounts and to specifically manage all the messaging that comes out of the school district to the community. And the reason I say that is more and more people are getting their news through social media outlets. The Pew Research Center did a national poll last year that showed in 2016, 62% of Americans received their information, their news, through social media. In 2017, 67% received their information and news from social media sites. Social media is, is a source for so many people in our community and throughout the state, and obviously throughout the country. And navigating social media platforms is a challenge. I can't even navigate all the social media platforms, and I work with high school students every day. They're teaching me how to navigate through these social media platforms. I think it's absolutely critical, and I appreciate the sheriff. I appreciate the presentation of bringing this forward, being transparent about it, because the last thing I want, I think the point was made by Supervisor De La Cruz, is we have to have boots on the ground. Absolutely, we have to have boots on the ground. And I don't want sworn officers trying to navigate through social media sites and how to work in messaging. We should have a firm that is committed and has set examples working with other sheriff's departments to do it and to do it efficiently. And so this is something I completely support. I think that this is going to be a big benefit to the county, to the sheriff's department, to our community, because print media, unfortunately, is dying in this country, in this state, and certainly in our community. We don't have a reliable print media anymore, and so more and more people are going to continue to turn to social media and to where it's most accessible, our own phones. And so I really appreciate this item, and I'm on board. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
I appreciate that, Supervisor Rivas, for you saying that. And I will tell you that that's just the counties that I listed here are just the other sheriff's offices that this firm works with. That doesn't include all the cities and other people they work with. But I will tell you that they told me they have never seen a social media program grow as rapidly as San Benito County Sheriff's Office. And I think that the community is absolutely hungry for this information. They've never seen it take off so quickly. I like to attribute some of that to Chief Westrick and all the work that they've done on the front end of it for us, and we're able to ride those coattails. But I do know just from the reaction so far, it's something that the community really does want and they really are appreciative of.
Any other comments, Supervisor Medina?
Just make a motion.
Okay. I just want to state that I have no reservations about this either. It's within your budget. I see a tremendous value to this program. One of the first things that when I got elected, new supervisors have the opportunity to go to a supervisor institute, and first thing they discussed was how to deal with the media. And it's a real art. It really is. And I think not only will we benefit from that, but also the day-to-day interpersonal communications will benefit as well. And it doesn't hurt in the fact that, a lot of the younger people don't communicate way I used to communicate, face-to-face, talking, and everything's kind of text, and it's when you're out of sight and not talking to a person face-to-face, you talk to them a little differently. And I found that, not only public safety, but throughout our whole society, we don't communicate the way we really should because of social media, I believe, and there's a viciousness to it. And I think the training is something that we need, not only in your department, but we've talked about it throughout the whole county. In fact, I think we budgeted, how do we get our story, how do we get our news out, and we're working on that throughout the whole county. So I'm 100% on board with this and support the effort. That said, Supervisor Medina?
Jerry?
Oh, Jerry? I'm sorry.
You haven't asked the public.
Pardon me?
You haven't opened it up to the public.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hang on.
Okay.
I want to open it up to public comment. Nobody from the public? I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for an action.
I'd like to make a motion to approve contract with Cole Pro Media LLC commencing July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 in the amount not to exceed $30,000.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. Thank you. All right, that takes care of the consent agenda. We'll move on to public hearing. CAO Espinoza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you recall, we went through a process for collection of rates and went out to RFP some time back for waste collection. Today, I'd like to invite Kevin McCarthy up, Kathleen Gallagher. They're going to be presenting to you already what you've discussed during the negotiations and actually working forward with the RFP on the actual rates, but I'd like to go invite them up to say a few words.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and Supervisors. Kevin McCarthy. I've been the technical lead on the franchise agreement process. I wanted to first extend my thanks to all of you who I know put a lot of time into going to ad hoc committee meetings, public hearings, and providing input on the selection of the contractor, which, as you know, is Recology. A couple of quick things about the staff report. The rates that were noticed, there was a notice that was sent out August 1st. These are the same rates that are in the franchise agreement that you approved back in June. So there's been no change. The contract that you approved had a set of rates attached to them. Those were sent out into the notice. In the notice, these rates go through June 30th. So we'll be back next spring for a rate hearing process for the next year. There are low-income rates modeled after the PG&E program, so you'll see that in the attached rates. The rates are also structured in a way that if folks reduce their garbage volumes, they will experience a reduction in their rate. So there's opportunities for cost savings there. The board clerk can give you the update on the number of written protests. The way the process works is 50% plus one of the ratepayers would have to submit a written protest in order for these rates essentially to not be approved. So I think we're far below that threshold, but the board clerk can report on that. I'm joined here today by Kathleen Gallagher and Phil Couchet, the general manager for Recology, so we can answer any questions. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions from the board? Supervisor Dela Cruz.
Yes, thank you. Kevin, we have in the county, this is county, right?
Yes.
In the county, you have 3 color containers, correct?
That's correct.
So you got the regular garbage, you got the recycle, and then you have the green, right?
The green.
What do you call that?
It's a yard waste cart. It's a green cart, and it's.
I'm sorry, the food disposal one, right?
Oh, it will be called an organics cart.
Organics.
Yes.
Thank you. Why is it that we have to put that out in the county?
Well, it's a good question, and we've gotten that question from a number of folks. The county, the Integrated Waste Management Agency, which includes the county, currently is not compliant with the state mandates. So we are essentially being watched. We have an understanding with Cal Recycle that we would go forward and implement a series of programs to bring up our diversion rates. We've talked a lot about the state mandates. And so the single biggest jump we will get in diverting waste from the landfill is organics. And so right now, San Benito County and Hollister and San Juan are probably, and Phil can probably speak to this, they're the only jurisdictions that we know of in any of the surrounding counties that don't have a required yard waste and organics collection service. So it's really, that's the place we're going to get the biggest bang for our buck. The other thing that's happened, and when I say the county is and the regional agency is not compliant currently with state law, that's the current law, AB 939. There's a new law that was put in place, AB 1383, that's actually requiring even bigger reductions in disposal from the landfill just on organics. And so we're kind of facing a situation where we really can't go voluntary anymore. This is the place that the state's mandating reductions in landfill disposal. So that's why there's this big emphasis in putting the green cart out. Now, the residents are all going to get the cart. They don't have to put it out, but it is a mandatory part of the program.
It's an added cost to the residents, right?
That's correct.
What's the percentage of the total waste from organic?
Kathleen, what was the? Kathleen has some data that there was a study done at the landfill about that. I'll let her speak to that.
Good morning again. Organics food, it's called a waste characterization study. So it shows what's still going into the landfill that we, as the county, Hollister, San Juan, are disposing of. And it's in the neighborhood of 30 to 31% of the materials that are going into the landfill are organics, food waste. And then a quick thing to add is this, we're doing a lot of education. We're meeting with Recology again today of educating our businesses and our residents about these programs. It's not just food and organics. It's also pizza boxes, paper towels, paper plates. It's anything organic, meat, fish. It's a really wide-ranging piece. And as Kevin had said a little bit earlier, our intent, and we've talked to City of Hollister last week about this, is if somebody has a 96-gallon container or a 64-gallon container, our hope is that they're going to start to migrate all of that organics and food waste from their garbage container into the organics container, and then they can reduce their costs. And so we're really trying to promote our residents and our businesses to look at those opportunities to reduce their cost.
Now, the organic waste is not 100% reusable, right? There's a certain residue that just goes back to the landfill, right?
So this material that's going to be collected, it's going to go to Recology's organics composting facility in Gilroy. So they are going to screen out plastics and other materials that are basically non-organic, that will not break down in the composting method. It is not a significant amount. That's why we're really putting a big emphasis on educating our residents and businesses to not put in plastics. So you'll see in the outreach, if you have already seen some of the outreach materials, we're really trying to promote what is acceptable in the in the organics and what is not.
You know, Mr. Chair, one more question. I heard a lot on the social media, Supervisor Rivas. Kudos. I heard a lot on the social media that God, I apologize to Paul, Phil. Why would those idiots buy new containers? You know, if the old ones are good. I mean, it's just an added expense, you know, to rate users. And I did some research, and I found out actually it makes sense to make the competitive process fair. Because if Recology wasn't forced to buy new containers, then a company like RGR would have to put on their balance sheet the purchase of new containers, and Recology would have the upper hand. So you wanted it to be on a fair basis.
Exactly.
And it makes sense, and I explained that to the public, and they weren't happy, but I said, I buy it. It's a smart idea.
Thank you so much. And it is part of our request for proposal to put everybody on a level playing field to purchase new recycled containers, because a lot of them were mismatched. A lot of them were at the end of their life. That is one of the key things, and we're, as you might see, we're doing a lot of outreach and education to ensure that we really get that big boost of diversion that we need to get us out of the concerning place that we are right now to not meeting the state mandates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions from the board? I know my recycled container had a cracked lid and a little metal bar was missing, and might as well have all three new containers. But anyway, with that, I think I could open up the public hearing. Anybody from the public would like to address the board?
Yes, I have the speaker, Reb Monaco.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Reb Monaco. I reside at 6991 Southside Road in Hollister. I don't usually complain about paying services that I do not benefit from government agencies, but occasionally they really upset me, and this one does, for a simple reason. I may be one of the exceptions to the rule. I've been a certified organic farmer since 1995, still am, certified by California Certified Organic Farmers. There is minimal waste that goes in the green bin for my operation, period. I have a chipper that chips things. I put it back into my orchard. I pay dearly for that. I do not like to have to pay for some service that I'm not going to use at all, period. And I was just informed by Recology that I don't have an option here. Basically, I'm going to pay a fee to have a green bin on my property that I'm not going to use. I'm going to tell you people, some of you have known me for a while, I can be on the cheap side. If I needed an extra bin on my ranch, I could probably go out and buy one at a cost savings to what I'm paying for the one from Recology. There should be an option here. I understand that not everybody in the county is a certified organic farmer, but there are a few of us here in the rural counties. We pay dearly for that, believe me. I know that we have some ag people on our board. They understand what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. We should be able to be exempted from that green bin without having to pay that extra fee. That's my statement. We should be the exception. Thank you.
Supervisor Monaco, what was, when you sat up here, what was one of your favorite sayings about the state?
Well, I used to have a couple of them. One of my favorites was "Money's the answer. What's the question?"
Yeah, that was one. And the state of California is not your friend.
No, not always.
Yeah, and this has a lot to do with that.
I understand that, and I think that I'm going to have to petition CCOF in Santa Cruz, maybe to contact our state representatives, that there should be some exceptions allowed for people like myself. Statewide, we have certified organic operations that are expanding. They're certainly expanding in our county and most counties in California and many other places. And CCUF is a major certifier in the nation at this time, although they're restricted really to California. So I think that there may be issues that need to be taken up with the state legislature, and I'm probably willing to be part and parcel to that also, because there should be allowable exceptions to people that operate certified organic operations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Actually, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Monaco,
yes.
Can you please sit right there? But after we close the public, I want to ask you some questions.
Sure. Sit at this table?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, over there in the back.
I got to get out of here by 10:30.
Oh, you'll be gone.
Another appointment.
Okay, then we'll move public comment along. Yeah.
Next speaker is Ella Salinas.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Supervisors, Elia Salinas. So I was very vocal on Rincology getting this contract, and one of the things that I complained about is that they have a history, once they get the contract, that the prices go up. And I understand from the bids that they all placed, that's apparently that this cost that the citizens didn't know was going to happen was part of the negotiations. As an individual person who doesn't, I probably would take me more than a year to fill out that. I don't have really organic waste like that. I have a gardener, so that's not an issue. Any food left over, I have a garbage disposal. I understand that I can opt out, but I have to pay for it. There are a lot of people out here that are on limited income, and they literally cannot afford this extra charges. Yeah, they can opt out, and apparently there's some type of a program that they can reduce the fees. But I think that people that are on limited income should be able to have the option to either opt out or that it's a very, very minimal charge. Again, the cost is just doesn't seem to justify having to pay for this green bin if they're not going to use it. There should be something where we can opt out, and I realize that it's mandated by the state, and I think the state is actually, holding our hand for now instead of punishing us. But I don't think that the citizens should be punished with by digging into their pockets for this cost that they did not know that was going to happen to them. Thank you.
Thank you. No other speaker cards. Anyone else from the public before I close? Please step to the stand and. You have to go to the podium and speak.
Sorry. I just have a question. You said there was
and please address the board.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Janine Fortier, DiVincenzo, 1290 Bonneview Road. Supervisors, I just have a question. You said there was a program for low income. Is there a program for senior citizens?
We'll try to answer that question after the public comment period.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public would like to comment to the board before I close the public hearing? If not, I'll close the public hearing. And do we have any answers to that previous question?
Yes, to answer the prior speaker's question, this Lifeline account, if the seniors have a low income and can prove that they're on the Lifeline, they can indeed get a lower rate. And that's a process that we have outlined on our outreach materials. And if there's any questions, feel free to call us on our website, Integrated Waste Management website, and we can walk you through the process of the senior. I'm sorry, watch the senior through the process.
Yeah, I think Supervisor De La Cruz has something wants to elaborate on it a little bit.
Well, not on the Lifeline one, but more to Supervisor Monaco's questions about a waiver on organic for unincorporated area. My question is, what the state mandates to San Benito County per se, we still have the flexibility how to implement, right?
Correct. We do have flexibility on how we implement the program.
So if we have the flexibility to implement a program, don't we have the flexibility to give or create a program to give waivers to unincorporated residents, such as Supervisor Monaco, who can prove and provide document that they're organic farmers or individuals?
I think that's something that I think we should talk further about. The challenge is, and this type of question came up with City of Hollister last week, is that the intent is to have all of our residents participate and our businesses as well that are generating these materials. The concern is, as our county grows and we get new residents moving in, we want to ensure that they have the opportunity and that they're participating in the program. I think it's quite clear that when we went to request for proposal, all these services are bundled. So they're not paying an additional service for just the yard waste, and but all of these services are bundled. So the intent, I think, as Kevin said, is that we can put the what our intent is that the containers will be delivered to all our residents. They don't have to put the container out. I think your question is there a waiver for organic farmers or things like that? I think that's something I think we would need to talk a bit more about. It's not something that we had included in the request for proposal documents.
Well, I mean, it's notwithstanding the proposals, that's over. Now we're talking about moving forward.
Yeah. Perhaps Phil or Kevin talk more about it.
Yeah, I guess the question is it's your business? Or you're asking as a business to be exempted out?
Certified organic walnut operation. I've had it there since 1995.
So there is a difference in how the services, the organic service for businesses is subscription. You're not required to have that. A residential, everybody is getting the cart. And so it depends on how, if you're a resident or a commercial business. So Phil's team at Recology will be going out trying to get businesses set up for the organic service, but we're not mandating that. So I don't know if that addresses the particular issue residentially. There are exemptions too. If you may be home composting, you may self-haul to the landfill. If you don't need a garbage service, there's a process in place in all three jurisdictions to get an exemption. Well, you don't have to have the service at all, and that's garbage. That's everything. And so there is a process. So what I would suggest is we can sit down with you, set up an appointment, and go through your situation. Maybe he qualifies for an exemption from all the services. There are some people that do. We're processing one case right now, so we might be able to deal with his specific situation. There may be others, but again, if it's a business, You're not required to have the green bin or cart. The residents are the ones that are being required.
I understand from the residents. I'm more interested from a business, organic business such as Supervisor Monaco. Yeah, Mr. Chair, keep us abreast of the situation with Mr. Supervisor Monaco's.
Okay, very good. Any other comments from the board? I know from my recollection through the our RFP process, we ended up getting the company that had the lowest rate to the public, despite the recommendations from our staff and consultants to get another company that might have had a little bit more of a better track record as far as getting the diversion rate higher. So, we've been very sensitive to the public's needs to control these costs as best we can, but a lot of this is driven by, the laws that is made in Sacramento. And we have to comply to that, but we'll still try to work towards finding how, we could fit, some individual needs out there. But in the meantime, this is what we have to work with. Any other comments from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt resolution to approve maximum allowable solid waste collections rates, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to a regular agenda. Number 19, C.A.L. Espinoza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll go ahead and take this on. On August 21st, 2018, your board actually heard the possibility of erecting a barrier or having the city erect a barrier back on Bonneview Road. And there's a conversation with your board amongst staff and county council. And in county council's remarks, no authority to erect the barrier other than safety or health. So with that being said, your board then went ahead and moved forward with a motion to deny the request for a barrier and asked the Intergovernmental Committee to review the conditions of the road, barrier, and et cetera, and agendize this for a future date to see what the Intergovernmental Committee suggests. So here we are today. And in my understanding with the Intergovernmental, it was split on the direction to go. There were two, I believe, board members that felt, or elected officials that felt not to do anything, and there were two to possibly come up with another solution on this particular item. So with that, I wanted to go ahead and bring this back to the board members that are on the Intergovernmental to go ahead and comment on this item, and then bring it back to your board.
All right.
So,
I'll give the opportunity for intergovernmental members to comment on this item.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As chair of the intergovernment, there was no action taken by the intergovernment. What came out was a suggestion that due to the increase in traffic during construction of the project just north of the county portion of Bonneview Road, that the barrier be reinstalled during the construction time, because we have, apparently there's large construction trucks utilizing the county portion of Bonneview Road, and they're adding to the deterioration of the road. It's a safety issue. And the suggestion was that the barrier be put up during the construction of the project, the city project, and the county would then be able to use that time to come up with a more permanent solution for Bonneview Road itself, i.e. maybe speed bumps or resurfacing the road, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a suggestion that was made during the intergovernment meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Supervisor David Cruz?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I lobby that I believe in the staff position that a barrier shouldn't be there, regardless if it's temporary or full-time, because if we were to force if we were to put a temporary barrier during the construction phase of the project, then that has grounds to bring a challenge to saying the barrier's temporary there, therefore the barrier should be there permanently. And I don't want to create vested property rights to the situation where you go to court and a judge will say, oh, it's already been there, therefore it has, how do I pronounce that word? It has presidency, therefore it should be there forever. I'm of the opinion, Mr. Chair, that I will not support putting a temporary barrier during the construction phase. However, I did lobby the city of Hollister, and the mayor was there, and Carson were there, and Billy, that they should bring back the developer back to the table, had them sit right there, and tell them shame on them for taking all those trucks to that road, in light of the concerns from the public. I said it's not worth it. It's not fair. Some type of more cooperation should have been done between the city and the developer. I'm a county supervisor. I'm not a city council member, but I did express my frustration with the city of Hollister on that. I also said that I did not support putting stop signs, bumps, and all the other. Over the weekend, to my apology to the members who live out there, I drove by there again. Actually, there are some speed bumps out there, so I will support to work on some type of safety procedures for that road, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Medina. You
Speed bumps where,
Yeah.
Mr. Dela Cruz?
Yeah.
Where at?
I think it was by Bonnie Road or Cerrito Road. Cerrito Road.
Oh, in a different neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was kind of interesting because when I was driving there, my wife and I were driving by there, there was a sign that says, private road, do not drive through the here. And I go, wow, who put that up there? Because that's a county road. I go, wow. It's one of those things the county has to look into.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Supervisor Munzer for following up with this and bringing it to the intergovernmental. I, on one hand, would like to support what Jerry is, or Supervisor Munzer is stating. Supervisor Dela Cruz, we did speak with the developers. We did speak with the city, probably, I would say, a half a dozen times, if not more, about the traffic going through. It's on deaf ears. I receive phone calls 7 o'clock in the morning sometimes about heavy equipment driving down that road. So even if we did have a come to Jesus meeting, it probably would fall on deaf ears, but thank you for that suggestion.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? If not, I'll open it up for public comment. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Dee Slikas.
Thank you. I'm Dee Slikas, and I have lost precious time with my children for the last year fighting this because it's a concern about safety. Bonnie View Road is deteriorating. It's old, narrow, one-lane road that is and has needed care way before 2015. We residents have came to city and county and presented not just our personal concerns, but we have shown you proof and hard facts that you cannot ignore. We are talking about safety, and I don't think it should even be said that this is a problem in the city of Hollister that has in many areas in this town, because that means yet again you all know very well this is a big problem here, and you keep allowing more homes being built and not fixing the problem at hand. It is not okay to keep filling Hollister with more residents when there are many safety hazards, and Bonnie View Road has been one since city encroached on the road. We have shared with you the number of speeders that has started already because you allowed the barrier removed without speed humps to protect us. The new homeowners are not even there yet. And look at our road. Alligator cracking is out of control, as well as the amount of potholes. We will not have a road soon. Walking down the street, families have almost been hit because of the damages caused by you allowing semis and thorough traffic. There was a car that has been seen that went into the bush at the east corner of Sunny Slope Road, where we told you about those damages. What is it going to take for you to hear us? A lawsuit will come one day, and I pray a death does not come with that. The gas line is old. It was said heavy machinery should not travel over it. Maintenance on the gas line without proper procedure has been seen being taken. The road is too thin, the width is too short, and on top of it all, no proper notification to the neighborhood that this was coming our way. If plans are to be made that affects your voting citizens, we have the rights to feel safe. We have the rights to live in a place we purchase with our hard-earned money and live the way we purchase when we purchase the homes.
City has said it's too costly to fix. County has said the same. Bonnie View County Road has not been a priority and is not on Measure G. We were a dead-end road that was used by 41 homes, and we residents cared and maintained that road for over 67 years. We have been your free workers. We have taken care of everything, and we pay our taxes. We took care of issues, including slowing the speeders down, and it was only one. Now there's way too many. What do? We are tired of expressing our concerns to you guys. We are tired of talking to city. If in a few years it proves that you need more than 3 ingresses and egresses to a division that houses only 22 new homes, then revisit this with proper notification. Leave Bonnie View Road a dead end. Stop saying Hollister roads all look bad and start fixing them before agreeing to more homes being built. It is all about safety here, and we need you to make that a priority right now and replace the barrier.
Thank you.
Good morning, County Supervisors and Janine Portier, 1290 Bonnie View Road. Thank you again for this final opportunity to speak on behalf of Bonnie View Road County residents. After 4 presentations to the City Council, 1 roundtable meeting, and a vote by the City in February 2018, where the consensus was to keep Bonnie View Road a dead-end road as it has been for 67 years until the county can make our roads safe for through traffic. After 3 presentations and 1 intergovernmental with the county, we have said about all we can say about the importance of making your roads safe for our neighborhood and community. Months ago, we contacted the California Department of Transportation. After an informative conversation, they referred us to the California Office of Traffic Safety. In our conversation, we presented this scenario. We live on a 1-lane road. 1 lane, according to the state of California safety distance for 2 vehicles to pass safely. 68-year-old county road that had a dead-end barrier for 67 years. The city is building a new development at the dead-end area of our road. The city removed the barrier, opening the road to thorough 2-lane traffic and many heavy construction vehicles. Director Rhonda Crafts of the Department of Traffic Safety questioned to us, was the old road brought up to state safety code? The answer from us, no, and this is the problem. Rhonda, I've brought your road up on the computer, and this road is within a close proximity to the elementary school. Answer, yes. The conversation continued. The rest of the information is lengthy and is in the grand jury report. You may already know this, but the county can apply for a California Traffic Safety Grant, www.otscagov. We understand that the county has many roads in need of repair, but not one of these roads were closed for 67 years and then abruptly opened with 0 safety measures in place for the community. Just to clarify, the county's RMA stated that the average PCI for county roads today is a 27. In 2016, the average was a 37 and Bonnie View a 27. So that means today, Bonnie View Road is at a 17 PCI reading or less. In closing, we beg you that no matter what happens here, please fix Sunny Slope Road and Bonnie View Road East Corner before there is a serious accident. We would like to thank Mr. Jerry Munzers for putting us on the intergovernmental agenda and this agenda, and of course, Mr. Mark Medina, thank you. That's it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
No other speaker for it.
Good morning.
Good morning again, Elia Salinas. So I've been listening to these women come to Board of Supervisors meetings and City Council meetings, and this is a prime example of the Board of Supervisors and the Council not working together. They're stuck in the middle, and no one seems to be able to be listening to them. I know that Supervisor Medina has been trying to do this. He's been going to City Council meetings. And Supervisor Dela Cruz, the fact that you spoke to the city manager and you spoke to the mayor, and now you want them to go and slap the hand of this developer is ridiculous, because it is over and done with, and there's no repercussions that that person has done. This project was approved, and it was, again, the city and the supervisors that did not work together, and these are the people that are going to pay for it, and I certainly hope that nobody gets injured out there. So let's try to work together. Let's try to get this taken care of, and let this be the first project where all of you now start working together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else from the public? All right, I'll close the public comment and bring it back to the board. Supervisor Medina, it looks like.
Anyone else have any questions or like to make a motion?
Oh, anyone have any further comments? I guess not. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to erect a barrier at the end of the old Bonneview Road during construction of the development that is north of the old Bonneview Road.
Have a motion on the floor. I don't have a second. Motion dies. Any other direction?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we direct staff to erect a barrier during the construction time of the project, the city project north of the county road of Bonneview, and also direct staff that during that time that we look at options for Bonneview Road itself and to improve the safety of Bonneview Road.
A second.
Can I ask for a division of the motion, Mr. Chair?
Yes, of course.
And the first part of the motion is your first question, and the second one is about the safety. Oh.
They're both, the nexus on both part of the motion is safety. With the barrier needs to go up because the county portion of Bonneview Road with the heavy construction traffic is not safe. So that is why I'm only asking that the barrier go up during the construction of the city project north of the county road, portion of the road.
But you also added that.
And I also added that we also direct staff to look at options.
Correct. For safety improvements.
For safety of the road.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I have a question after.
So if we make this motion, I have no problem with the motion or the idea or the concept of exploring this, but we have to also understand the other routes of access to the project other than this one and how that's going to impact other residents in this neighborhood, in this area. And so, without that information, I can't make a decision like this. If we talk about cooperation, working with city and county, to have a joint, if this is, I understand the challenges. This is a countywide, this is a statewide issue, failing roads. I wish we could speed up and wouldn't take quarter of a century to fix 156 where people have died. Let alone waiting for someone to die on Bonneview. People have died on 156. Friends that I know have died on 156. This unsafe roads is a problem in California. It's a problem in this community. And so certainly, but I'm not going to make this decision without all the facts and all the information before us. If we're going to put up a barrier, how is it going to impact the rest of the transportation network in this region? And so certainly, whether we schedule a joint meeting, Mr. Chair, with the city, so we don't have to keep coming back again and again, then I'm okay with that. But I'm not going to support any kind of motion that we don't have all the facts before us today. So, certainly on the agenda it says update board on Bonneview Road discussion from intergovernmental and request direction from the board. I view that direction as let's come to some kind of consensus where we make a decision possibly at a future meeting, but I can't make a decision to erect a barrier without all of the information before us. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks. Chair. Supervisor Medina.
Well, once again, this is a perfect example of government just kicking the can down the road. This has been a year of interaction. When we're talking about exits and entries, there's 3 different avenues to enter and exit. So I'm kind of confused on what other information the Supervisor Rivas needs.
Go ahead,
well, we can kick the can down the road. Mark, this just came to our board recently. This came to our board. This action, you requested this to come before our board about 2 or 3 months ago. Not a year ago. 2 or 3 months ago. This hasn't been before this board for an entire year. So that's why I'm requesting we do a joint meeting possibly to the, with the city if the city wants to do that, because we can't just, this barrier was taken down, and the concern of it being taken down then was brought to our board. So this, for me, this is a new issue. Maybe for you it's not because it's your district, but you certainly didn't mention anything previous, to the 3 months that it was on this, on our agenda. So that's why when I request more information, certainly need more information, to make a decision. So
we've been talking about this for the last 7 months, Mr. Rivas, but when you're looking at this...
You haven't brought it to this board.
Okay.
Well,
right.
When we're looking at this, we also look at the city. The city's already said that, yes, they would actually agree with the barrier as long as it's on our side of the road.
Okay.
Land, I'm sorry.
I think there's a comment from the county council. So.
Oh, well, I wanted to say that there's a vehicle code section that says that no resolution shall be valid as to placing a barrier on a street that goes through 2 different jurisdictions without the approval of both jurisdictions. So even if you took a motion and passed a resolution, it would not be valid unless the other jurisdiction, which would be the city of Hollister.
Yes, they did.
And Mr. Chair, and that's why I asked for a division of the motion, because I would not support the first idea. But the second idea, I think we all owe it to the public to try to develop safety tools.
Well, we have a motion and I think a second, and so we could see where that motion goes, and if it does not pass, then we could add to other.
But a division allows the motion to be broken into pieces. If you as a chair, you could object that concept.
I could.
Okay, your call, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Munzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Addressing the county council's issue, I believe the city already passed a resolution authorizing the erection.
Re-erection of. Okay. So a majority of their city council already approved.
They did pass a resolution, I believe. Okay, we can look into that. But so going on the theory that the city council did pass a resolution authorizing the erection of a barrier, if we take that motion today, then that should satisfy both.
Well, I would want to know. There's some. I'd want to know what exception you were using for, because you're not allowed to place a barrier unless you fall into one of the exceptions.
I feel safety issue is the exception. The county portion of the road is not safe with the heavy equipment utilizing that road, and that's what I feel. Maybe
no, there are some exceptions for safety, but we need to just figure out which one it is. Some require a public hearing, some require the police or the law enforcement to enact. It needs to be temporary. All of these, I think you need to discuss. We need to do some research and find out
process
what the procedure will be before we approve it, because it's too vague otherwise.
The only
it requires
question I have
a public hearing, for example.
Supervisor Munzer, if the heavy equipment doesn't go down Bonneview, it's going down another street. Which street do you think they'll go down that's that much safer?
Well, okay, I'm not a road commissioner expert, but I'm assuming that the city roads that have been built already would be more able to handle the heavier traffic than the county road that is narrow and not able to handle it. So and the city, I believe, directed, again, a lot of this is trying to come up to speed with all that's going on. The developer was directed to use the city streets to access the development, and his subcontractors have chose not to, and have ended up using Bonneview, and have been asked several times not to use it, and it has not had any effect on them because it is a public road. So the only way to make the road safe again, in my estimation, would be to temporarily put up a barrier.
Okay, thank you. I guess if there's no further comments, we have a first and a second on the motion. I'm going to keep the motion as one motion is submitted by the Supervisor Munzer and seconded by Medina. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
No.
Oppose. So it's 3-2. Motion fails.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if I need to make a motion, but I just, I recommend we let staff do whatever research is necessary to bring this back in the form of a decision the board can make, rather than as a discussion item. Maybe we could have an agenda item with some formal actions, and then this board can vote them up or down. If we need to, so again, reach out to the city council, get their resolutions, or schedule a joint meeting, whatever. Maybe we could have a city representative here. If the decision was made, then let's go that route. But certainly there is a process, and all of us on this board should know that we're clean. The last few years we have cleaned up a lot of things about past decisions that have been made where process wasn't followed, and it comes back and it really it disrupts what we're trying to accomplish now. And so certainly making sure that we make a decision that is follows the letter of the law and that we follow all the processes is extremely important to me, and it should be important to the rest of this board. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty frustrated with the whole issue myself, in the fact that I think these are type of developments that should be coordinated between the city and county from the start, and the impacts should be evaluated fully, not partially. And apparently, a county road and community was left out in the decision-making process for this new development in that area. And I think there's still more going to come, so we have to improve. But I think we're aware of what the problem is. It's just a consistency of the general plan and some of the other issues that we have to wrestle with is what's driving us at this point. So I support Supervisor Rivas' suggestion as far as bringing this back in some form that we could work with. Okay?
Yep.
With that, we'll move on to item 20.
All right, and I'd like to invite our RMA Director, John Gerton, up.
Try not to break your computer.
February 9th. Is the date.
How do I make this a slideshow? There we go. Okay, good morning. I think this is actually a timely report here because we're going to talk about our road program a little bit and some of the funding sources that we utilize for maintenance of our roads in the county, and Proposition 6, which is a proposition to repeal Senate Bill 1, and what the impacts of that would be on our road program, and then consideration from your board on adopting a resolution in opposition to the effort to repeal SB 1. So just for some background, because I know everybody hears the terms. I don't know if everybody's clear on what the terms are, but just for little education purposes, traditionally since the 90s, the primary and in a lot of cases the only source of funding for road maintenance projects has been what we refer to as the gas tax. Gas tax is made up, it's changed a little bit over the years, but it's generally just a tax on regular gas, on diesel gas, and then also there's the vehicle registration or vehicle license fee that goes along with that. That goes into all of the jurisdictions' road funds through what we refer to as HUDA, which is the Highway User Tax account, and that's how we get our funding for general preventative road maintenance projects. So in this county, we generally use that primarily for mowing and potholing, because that's about the amount of money that we get. And then I'll talk a little bit more later about how those revenues have declined and then what the intent of SB1 was. SB1 was passed in 2015. Is that right? 2015. Yeah, 2015. And that basically added to the gas tax and increased the gas tax and increased the vehicle license fee. It brought in some new revenues in the area of license fees for electric vehicles, which obviously don't pay gas tax because they don't utilize gas, yet they utilize the services of the roads. And then Proposition 6 is on the November ballot. That's an effort to repeal Senate Bill 1, and that would reduce our funding for road maintenance. So the two main reasons why SB1 was enacted by the legislature primarily is because of the deteriorating roads that Supervisor Rivas was talking about. The funding was not keeping up with the cost to provide maintenance to the roads, and so we had a significant backlog of maintenance throughout the state. The backlog at the time was estimated to be $7.3 billion just for local agencies and their backlog, plus another $5.7 billion at the state level for the highway system. At the time in 2016, when we did our pavement management system report, the estimate for San Benito County, just for the unincorporated county, was $222 million in deferred maintenance to the road system. So that's why you hear a PCI of 27 at this point. Gas tax was enacted in 1994, and it's for a number of years it was a significantly shrinking revenue source. From 2013 to 2017, generally throughout the state, gas tax revenues decreased by 33.5%, which is devastating to our road system. So what you can see here, this is from the website. I'll have to get back to you on that. I forgot the name of the website. But what this shows is the general pavement condition of each county. And you can see from 2008 to 2016 the significant change in the pavement condition throughout the state. Everybody went down, generally speaking, except for a couple of those green counties. You can see San Benito County up there was in blue, which was an at-risk designation. And in the 8 years since, we fell into the poor category. And you can see by the increase in red there, we're not alone. Very few counties have actually improved their PCI, and they've all done that with significant investment in general fund or TOT if they have that. I know in Monterey County, they invested TOT to help bolster the maintenance program. So what does that mean for us if we don't have enough funding? So this is just a little chart to kind of show you how the costs escalate if you defer maintenance. The state average right now is 65 PCI. You could think of the PCI categories as a grading system as you would in school. And you can think of it as grades. So obviously anything below 50 is failing. Right now, as you heard earlier from one of the speakers, the estimated PCI, average PCI for our unincorporated roads is 27. And that's in the poor to failing category for most of our roads. You see the curve there on the chart. 65 is generally what engineers refer to as starting to go over the cliff. That's when you're at risk of your annual cost for maintenance drastically increasing. So if you can stay above the 70 PCI, there you see your average maintenance costs are estimated at $2 to $4 a square yard. We're down in the 27 for us. Just for preventative maintenance, it's $30 to $40 a square yard. So you see, as you defer maintenance, the problem just compounds and you get further and further behind because your dollars don't go as far as they would have if you kept up with your preventative maintenance. And we need funding to do that. Same thing here. This is just another chart that's illustrative of the importance of doing preventative maintenance on good roads when they're good and not waiting until they're in poor or failing condition. You can see how much further your dollars go and how much longer your roads will last with those dollars. So as I mentioned, gas tax has always been a declining revenue. The formula didn't contemplate inflation and increased construction costs. And so because there was no adjustment to in accordance with CPI or inflation or anything, the gas tax originally started at 18 cents a gallon, and it stayed at 18 cents a gallon. And in today's market, well, in 2015's market, when SB 1 was contemplated, if you adjusted for inflation and then adjusted for the increase in mileage that we're all maintaining, that equated to a 9-cent per gallon tax in its usefulness. So SB 1 made the adjustment to that to bring us back up and to take into account the increase in fuel-efficient cars and electric vehicles. So this chart shows you the blue line is the gas tax, and you can see how it went up initially to 18 cents, and then it stayed at 18 cents. The dotted line is adjusting for inflation, and you can see how it would have gradually gone up with inflationary costs and increased mileage maintained. The sharp increase in the blue line is SB 1 funding. So SB 1 funding, it's really a misunderstanding or a miscommunication to talk of it in terms of additional funding. It's not really additional funding. What it really did is it brought us back up to where we should be with the original formula for gas tax. So this is just getting us back. The problem is from 1995 to 2015, that's when the preventative maintenance fell off, and that's when our backlog of maintenance needs built up. And so now we're really behind the 8 ball, and the increase in SB 1 funding really isn't enough to address that backlog. It's helping, but it's not the solution. So Proposition 6, as I mentioned, Proposition 6 is the initiative on the ballot in November, and that's an attempt to repeal SB 1. And so I just wanted to talk about what some of the impacts to our region and specifically to the county road program would be if this is successful. So regionally, we are estimating about $5 million. I think it's a little bit higher now in SB 1 funding annually over the next 10 years. For this region. For us at the county, for next year, our road program, that's $1.8 million. That's essentially doubling our road maintenance program budget from what it's been historically over the last several years. For the next 10 years, that would be an average of about $2.8 million annually that the county would lose for its road program, and over 9 years, $26 million in lost revenue that is desperately needed for our road program. As I said, it doubles our funding. Right now, our average funding from HUDA is about $1.7, $1.8 million, and you see for next year we're going to get $1.8 million in SB 1 as well. So as I said, that's not going to fix our roads, but that's going to help with situations like Bonnie View and others where we can actually address things that we haven't addressed in decades. So some of the questions that I hear that come up around SB 1 and why do we have SB 1, why should we keep SB 1, will SB 1 be rated by the governor for his pet projects? That's specifically one that I get a lot. The interesting thing is that the gas tax is what got rated, and it got rated by Governor Schwarzenegger. And so that was during the recession, so it was a different time. But there were constitutional protections of some gas tax, but not all gas tax, and so the gas tax that wasn't protected became a revenue source through the tough times of the recession. SB 1 has constitutional considerations that prevent it from being rated, and no, the governor cannot use it for his pet projects. One of his pet projects that everybody wants to talk about is high-speed rail. SB1 does not fund high-speed rail. Will any of the revenues go back to pay old transportation loans? No, that's being repaid out of the general fund, and that also shows up with our SB1 estimates from the State Controller's Office when they show us how much they're paying us. So these are some websites, SafeCaliforniaStreets.org. That's the one that I forgot earlier that I got the county information from. But if anybody wants to go and look and see what the projects are throughout the state or in this county that the funding is going to, Rebuilding California and the California Transportation Commission has those lists, and they're updated as we complete our projects, and they're updated as we get reimbursed from the state for those projects. So that's a good resource if anybody wants to check on us and keep us honest and make sure that we're spending the money appropriately. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Okay. Thank you for a very good report on the impacts of SB1 and condition of our roads. I think out of everything in today's meeting, this issue is probably the most critical, most important issue that this county faces today. And I've been concerned about the condition of our county roads for not months but years, and all I've seen is a continued deterioration and a lack of our ability to address it. And SB1 comes real close to us beginning to address some of the more key roads. And if we don't receive this, state additional state funding, along with the passage of Measure G, we're sunk. I mean, roads will fail, and fail in a very, very big way. So I'm happy that this is on our agenda. I hope that the press is a report on this rather than some other things that might have been discussed today, because this is the most important issue. And I'll open it up to the board for questions. Supervisor Medina.
Can you send me a copy of this presentation?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Supervisor Rivas.
Yeah, I just want to thank staff for a really good presentation. I mean, obviously, as was evident from the agenda item we just had, and Mr. Medina and I talking about, the intersection, which I had a conversation with you, John, the intersection at Fairview and Fallon. We could talk about 156. We could talk about South County. We could talk every portion of this county's got issues, let alone beyond our county borders and the rest of the state. And we have a $1 billion problem, as John highlighted, multi-billion-dollar problem, deferred maintenance, over $100 billion in deferred maintenance, from highways to local streets and roads. And that's aside from the new roads that we need to construct, the improvements that we need to make to expand roadways, to improve this transportation network. And this is just really challenging when we talk about the importance of Measure G, we talk about the importance of SB1, but moving forward is certainly this is because at the end of the day, we need revenue, but moving forward, the conversation we need to have and what state legislators need to really work on is we need a revenue source that is dedicated to our transportation, that is not dependent on fuel consumption. Because when we talk about raising gas taxes, in my opinion, this is a very regressive tax because it impacts the people and it harms the people that are most vulnerable in our society. Those are people that can't afford to live in San Jose or San Francisco, so they got to drive over there. So this is, without a doubt, a regressive tax. But at the same time, it really, when you talk about, a transportation revenue source that is so dependent on this gas tax, when our environmental policies, aggressive climate change policies, all want us to come off of fossil fuel and, our consumption on fossil fuel, especially, energy efficient cars. I know I have a Prius. I like to save money. Try to anyway. When you see a big push of more electric vehicles on the road, we certainly need to do more to secure a revenue source that isn't dependent on fuel tax and fuel consumption. So that's in itself a very huge challenge. But I'm absolutely against the repeal because we're seeing what these dollars mean to our county and to our region. And we certainly need every penny we can get to make sure that we improve our roads, because as was evident, as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of needs in this, this county and in this city. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it needs, besides conditions of the roads. Out in my area, the roads aren't even striped, and that's dangerous, especially on a dark, rainy evening. There's a lot of people that drive those roads. That's dangerous. That's not, people get life flighted. So, and I've known a couple of my neighbors go out on a helicopter. But anyway, any other comments from the board? If not, I'll open it up for public comment. Seeing none, I think there's an action here as far as a resolution that.
Move for staff recommendation.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Staff recommendation is to adopt a resolution opposing Prop 6. And that kind of puts it in a nutshell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Thanks. Now we'll go to closed session. County Council.
Now it's my turn. Sorry. I was so excited. Okay, so we will be adjourning and going into closed session under Government Code Section 549, 56.9, Subdivision D2. There are two cases: a conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. A second closed session item under 549, 56.9 of the Government Code, Subdivisions A and D1, to discuss existing litigation, County of San Benito versus Richard Scagliotti. That case is currently in the 6th Appellate District Court of Appeal, case number H045887. And then we will have a session, I'm not sure in which order, conference with real property negotiators under Government Code Section 54956.8. The property street address is 2733 John Smith Road in Hollister, California, 95023. The agency negotiators are Ray Espinoza, County Administrative Officer, Kathleen Gallagher, Kevin McCarthy. They're both sustainability programs managers and CSG consultants. Deputy County Counsel Shirley Murphy, Interim County Counsel Laura Zagaroli, myself. And under negotiation are the price in terms of payment, and the negotiating parties are the County of San Benito and Waste Connections, Inc. And lastly, we have closed session, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation under Government Code Section 549, 56.9, Subdivision D4, and there is one case.
Mr. Chair?
Okay. Yes, Supervisor Munzer?
I will continue to recluse myself from item number 22.
Okay. Anybody from the public would like to address the board on any of the closed session items? If not, we'll retire to closed session.
Michael Collins,